Good morning, Mattoon family and friends. This is Pastor Wilder joining us for our Monday morning meditation minute. We're grateful for your prayers, your presence, and your participation as we contemplate on yesterday's message, which came from the book of Romans, chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. And I'll read from the New Revised Standard Version, which say, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, on the basis of God's mercy, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable act of service, of worship. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. As you read and reflect on these verses, let us be encouraged that every day is a chance for us to experience Jesus' resurrection. That Jesus' resurrection is not a one-time event that we experience, but we experience daily in our habits, in our mindsets, in our talk, in the lives we live. That we are encouraged to live out Jesus' resurrection and through our commitment to God and to one another and our purposes in life. So the question then becomes, as we reflect, is how do we allow, or what does transformation look like? Or how do we become transformed in our daily lives? First, we can become transformed by remembering the goodness of God. The Apostle Paul reminded the church at Rome that God has done work in the lives of their ancestors in the faith, that even though their ancestors weren't always faithful to God, God was faithful. When they weren't always obedient, God was still providing for them. And so their belief system is built on the goodness of God. And so with that goodness of God, they are invited to ensure that the lives they live will reflect on how good God has been. And so that we can become transformed by remembering the goodness of God, because we can be in challenging situations in our lives where we can automatically forget the goodness that's in our lives. And so that's how we remember, or that's how we become transformed. Not only do we do that by remembering the goodness of God, but also by seeking the will of God. The Apostle Paul reminded them to not copy the behavior and customs of this world. This is from the New Living Translation. But let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. If I had to leave us with a metaphor today, I invite us to think about the butterfly and how it undergoes metamorphosis from an egg to a larvae, all the way to a butterfly. I want you to research that and think about how that connects with the changes that we experience daily as we remain connected to God and to one another in community. And as you keep that metaphor in mind, I want us to meditate on these questions. Where in our daily lives do we need transformation? Where is it do we need God to renew us? How does transformation help us in our tough days? How do we smile when life is sad for us? How do we still find goodness when we're grieving? And how do we share transformation in community with one another? How do we become the reason why we can still find hope and joy and love and peace in our lives? Because God does work through us. And so we can become transformed just by how we're responding to the challenges in our world. Of course, I invite us to stay tuned, because challenges don't go away. But how do we confront them with a renewed mind, not using or relying on the habits of the world to respond in ways where we could miss out on how we can be renewed through our challenges? I invite you to share your thoughts at the bottom of our meditation this morning, because that's a way for us to sharpen one another's iron as we continue to grow in the faith, an anchored faith, a hopeful faith, a loving faith. Because as we prepare for next Sunday, I invite us to think about how often we need to revisit our faith, that when we become resurrected, how do we also revisit our faith, even when life doesn't always seem to be fair. And so thank you for joining us this morning for our morning meditation minute. This is Pastor Wilder signing off. God bless you and keep you. And remember, no matter what we face, we serve a God who is always there for us. Until next time.